Welcome to the Green Building Show, where we investigate green design and building trends throughout Australia.
It's the bane of many inner-city homeowners. A shortage of space which restricts not only the feel, but the functionality of a home. But throughout October, the Green Building Show will be taking this issue head-on. We'll be speaking with 5 interior design experts to help you find out what possibilities there are for the small spaces in your home. This week, we continue our series on designing for small spaces. I'll be sitting down with Ascanio Cascione, a lecturer at Raffles Design College and also a furniture design expert.
I'm here today with Ascanio Cascione. He's a design specialist here at Raffles Design College. Thanks for being with us, Ascanio.
No worries, mate. How are you?
Great. So we're talking today about how the furniture in a home can really transform, especially transform a small place. So do you want to explain, I guess, what are the key principles to choosing the right furniture for your space?
Well, starting beside talking about choosing the right furniture, it's also we need to consider as well the place. How we're gonna locate the furniture in a space. So the best place to locate furniture in a small space in order to maximize the space in a small room could be maybe placing the furniture in the middle of the room rather than against the wall. That could be something that could actually improve and maximize the look of a space, as well as maybe thinking of not buying furniture that have any skirting and covering that could hide the legs of the furniture, and have furniture that are a bit raised up with legs from the floor could give a sense of space and a sense of improvement in the overall look of the house. As well as I will say that in a bedroom, for example, instead of having a bedside table next to your bed, you could actually try to think about having a shelving rather than a bedside table, because having shelving on the side could actually make the space look bigger.
Okay, great. I mean, and is there certain rules that it comes to when you're purchasing a piece of furniture or collecting some furniture for particularly a small space? Is there certain rules? A lot of design people will say that it has to be multifunctional or it doesn't belong in that space. Do you agree with that?
Well, multifunction is a big word because nowadays a lot of retailers, they market their furniture as a multifunction furniture, but it's really hard actually to find a multifunctional furniture, or at least a bifunctional furniture, because most of the time when you buy a furniture, it's been sold as a multifunctional furniture, but at the end it ends up to be used just for one function. But the trick is from the user of the furniture to make it multifunction. For example, if you buy an ottoman, like a footstool for your sofa, consider of buying a footstool or a ottoman that has a function of a container, so that it could actually incorporate a storage inside, and at the same time that storage and the ottomans, beside putting your foot on it, you can be used for a coffee table, or can be used as a container for the blanket. But at the same time as well, I would suggest people, if really you want to make big renovation in your house, to maximize and to try to include built-ins in a space, and ceiling to wall built-ins, because it can actually improve the look of and the size of the space, as well as trying to include some seating under the windows. So that could give either the function of seating and the function of a containers and a storage. And don't forget about the space that it's not used most of the time under the bed. That under the bed you can even ask to a carpenter to actually bespoke and design a little storage with some wheels that could be actually incorporated under your bed, because under the bed we have a lot of space that is just wasted.
Okay. Fantastic. And is there some, I guess, what's the key piece of advice for choosing the right pieces for your space? I mean, can people still choose pieces that they really love, or do they really have to think about functionality and practicality first?
Well, first thing that I would suggest people is to actually understand the actual space that they have available. First of all, buying big furniture for a small space makes the space look small. So I would suggest people to buy little furniture. So instead of having a huge lounge sofa in a living room, I would suggest them to buy a little two-seater and add on the side maybe 2 armchairs. That could actually make the space look bigger, as well as if it's possible for people buying table with a glass top, that it serves as a table, but at the same time the glass top would enhance the space in a room. As well as I would suggest people to, if they live in a space where there's a lot of angles, like in small space most of the time you have a lot of angles to deal with, I would suggest to people to maybe buy furniture with curves, because adding curves to a space, it maximize and it will enhance the space and make the space looks bigger rather than straight line furniture. So curvy line furniture, and try to keep them consistent in the curve.
Okay, fantastic. So the rule of thumb that you're saying is basically having more pieces of smaller furniture rather than less pieces of larger furniture.
Larger furniture, yeah, that's what I would suggest them, and maybe try to keep the same color, or at least the same tone of color. Don't try to contrast too much with the tone of the wall as well. So having a couple of pieces that maybe can contrast with the color of the wall, but at least try to keep the main furniture same color, same tone as the wall, so the same neutral color.
Okay, cool. And what in your experience is the key piece of advice? If there was one walk away from this interview, what's the one piece of advice you could give to someone for refurnishing their small space?
Well, keep the space to breathe. Let the space breathe out. Don't cover chairs or sofas with covers that can hide the legs, so with skirting. So keep the feet visible to people, because it makes the piece floating over the floor. So
what is the advantage of having that floating effect?
It will make the space look bigger, most of all, yeah. And it looks bigger. It looks less suffocating, and it makes the space to breathe, because even furniture need to breathe in a space. Yeah.
Okay, great. And what about the height of furniture? Should people be looking at keeping as low to the floor as possible, or vice versa?
Well, there's not really much to think about the height of the furniture, but maybe it's something that we need to consider. Maybe in curtain, some blinds. Maybe if you want to make people to change their side view in a room, maybe having curtains with lines, with vertical lines that could actually make the eye of a person to look up the ceiling and to make the space look bigger. But for furniture, I wouldn't actually focus much on the height, but I would focus more on the size of the furniture. So don't think of buying a huge sofa. I understand people that feel comfortable lie down on a big sofas, but if your target, if your scope is to make a space looks bigger, it's actually try to keep the size of furniture a bit smaller. Integrate, maybe rather than having a huge lounge, integrate maybe a couple of armchairs next to it and a rug. Yeah. Okay,
great. Final question, I guess. What's, in your personal opinion, what is it about furniture that makes it, how does it, what's its capability in terms of transforming a small space?
Well, in transforming a small space, as I said before, try to avoid of putting furniture against the wall.
Not how to do it, but what is the potential?
The potential of rechanging the furniture, or actually replace furniture in a space?
Either. But what is the potential for changing your furniture in a small space?
Well, changing a furniture,
you can completely transform it.
You could completely transform it with a low budget. Replacing furniture in a space could actually change the overall look of a space. It seems like you are in a new house completely while you're replacing furniture in the room, and I would suggest people to do that at least a couple of times a year, because they can see, as well as their guest or yourself, you can see and you can appreciate a space in a different way if you replace furniture in a room. And with a low budget, without buying new furniture, you just replace them, it will completely twist the look of a room.
Fantastic. Ascanio, thank you so much for your time.
Thank you, Carlos. Thanks.